Well, the first stage is the pause when they stop raising interest rates. Um, and, they did that for several reasons, I think. One is that they can read a chart just as easily as you and I can. And when the government's interest cost starts going straight up, that's death spiral territory there. You enter a period in which interest costs have to be borrowed, which makes interest costs go up the next year, and so on, into a cycle that you can't control. So they saw that happening. And they recognized that the government's interest cost in the not too distant future, if it keeps going at this trajectory, will exceed income tax revenues. And that's one of those bankruptcy signals for a government. When you are just borrowing money to basically pay the interest on your debt, which is what is happening in that kind of a situation. Financially, there's nothing left for you to do. You're a bankrupt entity. And the other thing that they looked at probably was personal interest costs, because that's also spiking, and that affects consumer spending and slows down the economy in the future. In other words, if your personal interest expense is going through the roof, you're not going to go take a nice vacation or buy a big car. You just can't do it because you're borrowing money in order to cover your interest, and that's a recipe for bankruptcy. Maybe the biggest of them all is that it's an election year. The incumbent party does not want monetary policy to be tightening right up to the election because they know they'll get voted out of office. So I think the Fed understands this. If they want continued work in the financial establishment, then they've got to do what they can to get the incumbents reelected this year in the US. And that means stopping the interest rate increases now and cutting them sooner rather than later. So if they're a politically driven Fed, we're going to find out soon, because they got to start cutting right away, because there's a lag between changes in monetary policy and effects on the economy. And it might already be too late to avoid a recession coinciding with an election. But if they're good little bureaucrats, they got to try, right? So if interest rates get cut at the next Fed meeting, that they got a phone call from the White House and they're doing what they're told. And if interest rates don't get cut, and if they go up, which would be an amazing outcome, then they're looking at inflation numbers, and they definitely, positively don't want to return to 2022. So they're going to keep things a little tighter, maybe longer than would be politically wise, in order to head off a resurgence of inflation. And that would be the statesman-like approach, the Paul Volcker approach, where you don't care about the economy, you do what's right for the stability of the dollar. I don't know if our guys this time around have that kind of dedication to what's true rather than their careers. So we'll see. But, they're going to tell us very soon what they are and how they view the world. I think it'll happen at the next Fed meeting.